Hi, everyone, and welcome to our additional media offering with the Maine Health Center for Tobacco Independence's Training and Education team. For this quarter's Soundbite, we're going to be talking with the Director of Community Health Improvement at Midcoast Hospital, Melissa Fochesato, about Brunswick, Maine's local flavored tobacco sales ban that went into effect June 1st of 2022. So first off, welcome, Melissa. I appreciate you taking the time to chat today. So would you want to start off by talking a little bit about your role with Midcoast Hospital and how you were involved with the sales ban efforts?
Sure, thanks, Ciara. I oversee Midcoast Hospital's Community Health Improvement Department. We've been coordinating tobacco prevention work for many years and have strong community relationships. I'm also a Brunswick resident and have a long history of working in public health, including in tobacco control and prevention. Because of this history, our community trusts us to provide accurate information. So I was approached by a Brunswick town councilor and parent extremely concerned about the youth vaping rate and how the tobacco companies were using flavors to hook our youth.
Wow, it's great to hear that the members of your community put so much trust in your work and that they came to you with their concerns. So could you talk a little bit about why a flavor sales ban would be beneficial to a community?
Sure. So the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids has compelling evidence that the tobacco industry is using flavors to hook kids. And as we all know, has a long history of using flavors to directly target the African American and LGBTQ communities. They also have examples of local flavor sales bans preventing youth initiation and decreasing use. Bangor and Portland had recently passed a sales ban when we were approached, and several town councilors were very interested in hearing more about the effectiveness and feasibility of a sales ban in Brunswick.
It's wonderful to hear that there's been other towns where the flavor sales ban has passed, which I'm sure was really helpful in explaining the effectiveness and also the benefits for bringing it to Brunswick.
Absolutely. Brunswick has always been a strong tobacco prevention and control leader. Our parks were some of the first to go tobacco free, and the council had recently passed a tobacco free ordinance banning use on Main Street from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and 24/7 on all town grounds and bus stops. So we knew the council and community would be open to discussing.
Yeah, it sounds like the town of Brunswick has already been extremely proactive in tobacco prevention and control. So, what advice do you have for other towns that are considering a flavor sales ban?
Yeah, first, I suggest finding a really strong council sponsor. We have several tobacco control champions on the council, but one in particular, who happens to be a former smoker, has been our very vocal advocate and strong supporter of local policy to protect our community.
Yeah, I can imagine hearing real life testimonials and stories is such a powerful way to explain the reasoning behind the ban.
Absolutely. In addition, encourage many voices to testify. Having many supporters and reasons supporting the cause was very compelling to our counselors. The expected champions were, of course, there. We had representation from the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, American Lung Association, American Cancer Society, the Maine Public Health Association, Equality Maine, and several others who helped us with the data effectiveness arguments. But even more compelling, I think, were the former users, school administration and staff, parents, youth, local pediatricians, Midcoast Hospital, and business statements. I encourage everyone to watch the recordings of the hearings. In addition to the health impact, don't forget to share a sales ban effectiveness. Our council did not need convincing that youth vaping is dangerous and a crisis. What they really wanted to know is if this solution, a local sales ban, would be effective and worth the negative sales impact on local tobacco retailers. Our local American Cancer Society was particularly helpful in gathering this information.
Yeah, I think that's great and really interesting point that you made regarding the council's main interest being more around the effectiveness rather than the data. So it's an important note for other towns to take into account that it's valuable to explain what other towns who have passed flavor sales bans have done and what the benefits were coming from them.
Yeah, I completely agree. Lastly, pay attention to the discussion and follow up. The council heard testimony one night and voted 2 weeks later. So that gave us time to respond to inaccuracies and questions that came out from the initial hearing. And then, although we couldn't testify before the final vote, councilors could ask questions. So I encourage everyone to try to provide a trusted, informed voice to answer these questions.
Yeah, those were some great tips for other towns that are considering a flavor sales ban. Another question folks might have for you would be, why do you think you were successful in passing this ban?
As I mentioned, we have a long positive history with the town council and our community. Because of this, they trust us and they trust the public health evidence. They believed us when we told them that flavor sales bans work and that the ordinance should not be amended because the tobacco industry are expert in finding loopholes. Reflecting, I think two arguments really resonated the strongest with our council. First, we reminded them of everything that schools and public health partners have been doing to combat vaping, and then asked them for their help in protecting our kids. And second, we had a passionate counselor, Counselor Foy, who reminded the council that they looked to and trusted their local medical and public health experts during COVID, and they needed to trust them on this. I remember her saying, if they say this is a crisis, then I have no doubt it's a crisis.
That's such a powerful message and way to get the point across.
Yeah, I encourage you to listen to the closing statements before the vote. It's really reflective on what arguments swayed the councilors and what concerns they had and why they were voting in favor. The final ordinance finally passed unanimously.
Yeah, that's a great point first in like making sure to listen to the hearing and closing statements in order to get a better sense of what potential questions and concerns could come up, and also how exciting to hear that the final ordinance passed unanimously. So to wrap up, could you talk briefly about what the next steps are for the town of Brunswick?
Yeah, so now that the ordinance is passed, our tobacco prevention coordinator can support the town in educating and supporting the retailers, and she's been doing a lot of that this summer. We are meeting regularly with CTI, Bangor, and Portland to create materials and identify assistance needs. And we've provided a toolkit for the town to mail to all retailers, and our new local law enforcement partners are visiting each retailer to assess compliance and answer questions.
Wow, that's great. You are honestly doing remarkable work, Melissa. We applaud you for all of the hard work and dedication it took to have this local flavor sales ban passed. And we certainly look forward to hearing about all of the accomplishments that follow regarding tobacco prevention and control.
Thank you so much, and really to the entire Maine Health CTI team for supporting tobacco control and prevention.
Awesome. So to end off, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening to this episode. A huge thank you to our guest, Melissa, for taking the time to chat about the recent flavor sales ban in Brunswick, Maine. We hope everyone enjoyed our conversation today. And if so, please make sure to visit our website at www.ctimaine.org for the recording and to stay up to date on future episodes. Thank you, everyone.